721, welcome back. Last shots from Washington, D.C. as delegates and officials get set for the inauguration of Donald Trump. Eric Merkley, a familiar face to us here on BT. Welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
Our poli-sci expert, obviously from UBC, and you provided great commentary during the election process. And before we look forward to what we'll see over the next 4 years with soon-to-be President Donald Trump, let's take a look at the legacy of President Barack Obama and take us back with this, a memorable moment from 2008. Have a look.
It's been a long time coming, but tonight, because of what we did on this day, in this election, at this defining moment, change has come to America.
Eric, there always seems to be a simple yet profound message that really resonated. And when we look back at that moment, 2008, what did Barack Obama do to strike a chord of unity across the nation and the world?
Well, he represented change. After 3 terms of Bush being in office, he represented a much-needed change of pace, especially at a time of global financial upheaval. But in terms of his legacy, was he able to measure up to that? How much did change really come? And the record is a bit more mixed now. Whether history will judge him positively or negatively, in part depends on how Donald Trump is. So by comparison, he might be mythologized. So we'll see how history writes his book.
He was undoubtedly a calming voice. No real political scandal that we saw take place over 8 years, but there were several pivotal moments that stood out. I think of the iconic photo inside the Situation Room.
Yeah.
When we had the words that, and then the words ultimately shared that Osama bin Laden was dead. Yeah. The Sandy Hook Elementary School. He was a voice, a trusted voice. And how do you establish trust as a politician and knowing that politics are so divisive?
Well, part of it is he had a natural ability natural charismatic ability that a lot of politicians wish they had. Hillary Clinton almost certainly wishes she had it. And that ability to communicate, Reagan had it as well. It helps. It helps a lot. But also it's a lot of hard work in order to manage an administration that is scandal-free is a rarity. It's a rarity. So he deserves full credit for that. And so that combination of the ability to communicate and that hard work for a scandal-free administration, I think the combination of the two are invaluable.
Change can always be uncomfortable because it's unfamiliar, but when you have 2 different extremes, such extremes with leadership, how do you anticipate this transition? I mean, we see what transpires before the cameras, but how do you feel this transition will play out, not only today, but in the months to come?
Oh, it's hard to say. We don't know what all is going on behind the scenes. Only so much of it gets leaked out. From my perspective, the bar is set pretty low for Trump. So to the extent that things have gone on relatively without a major hitch, that's exceeded my expectations that were so low to begin with. So it's hard to say moving forward. But he's got a lot of work to do. The first 100 days are critical for any administration. Congress is still relatively pliable in that the Republicans were delivered a win. They'll be receptive to his message, but only for a short window. And then the midterms come up, and so he's going to have to hit the accelerator to get any sort of agenda through. And we'll see if Democrats allow him any sort of leeway in that regard.
The political process will play out, but one of the interesting factors that we saw play out over 8 years was the emergence of the First Lady as a true force to inspire and unite a nation. What do you think the precedent really was over the past 8 years that has been set by First Lady Michelle Obama?
That's hard to say. First ladies always carve out their own niche, and so they all take different styles to the office. And because one First Lady does it a certain way doesn't mean it's necessarily going to be the way moving forward. And there's some evidence that Melania is not going to be as aggressive and active as Michelle was. So it's hard to say.
After all is said and done, and at 12:01, when President Barack Obama officially signs off with his role as president, what do you think he will be remembered for the most?
I think he will be remembered for rescuing the economy. That, on the positive side, I think is going to be one of his lasting legacies, and Obamacare, but it depends on how much the Republicans choose to keep it in the coming years. But on the negative side, foreign policy. Syria is a mess. Libya is still chaotic. A lot of that has to do with decisions that he made, rightly or wrongly, that are going to be attributed to him in the future, and that ultimately is going to makes his legacy in the history books, I think.
Well, it's going to be a historic